Diarmuid Masterson, Bull Masterson, you're very welcome, lad, to the podcast.
Good man, Stanley.
Nice little ring to it, hasn't it?
Does surely, yeah.
How are things, lad? Come here. Thanks a million for taking the time out now to have a chat. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no worries, Stan. There, when you get on to me there now, I'd no hesitation there now to have a chat with you there, and it would be.
Great stuff.
I'll try and be somewhat interesting there now, innit?
That's your man. You're interesting. Even a picture of you is interesting. Come here. How's the lockdown treating you?
Grand, actually, to be honest with you. Well, look, in a sense, I'm missing the whole sort of social aspect. Going out, myself and fiance Anna, we usually had, you go for lunches at the weekend, Saturdays, Sundays, meeting up with people, and you kind of miss that kind of social thing. All right,
time,
just having the freedom to kind of go where you want to go as well too. Just being told that you can't travel. I can't travel down to Cork. So you have a niece down there that Fia, she's a few months old, my sister's daughter, and we like going down there, and we like going down to Clare as well. Anna's got relations down at Clare in Fanor, and we love going down there every year. So it's getting into around the summer with the good weather and everything. You'd love to just skip off there. There was a bank holiday went by in May, wasn't there? And you'd love to just hop into the car and tear off there somewhere and enjoy that. But
yeah, it's very difficult. That side of things is very difficult.
Definitely, but in terms of the pace of life, everything's just slowed way back down there, and you kind of appreciate, the things that's important to you there, and family and stuff like that. So I enjoyed this kind of pace of life. I was saying up in the local shop there the other day, I was chatting to Geraldine there, and I was saying that it's just everything's kind of slowed down. People are, you're going in, you're shopping locally and everything like that, and everybody seems to have more time in the day to stand up and have a conversation with you as well too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
In a way, it has kind of brought the whole locality together too.
Do you find, would you have been one of those people that was just rushing and racing everywhere?
Rushing and racing for no reason at all. Like from playing football with me over the years there now, my punctuality probably isn't the best there. Like, so I'd be last man in the door there, trying to just throw the boots on, get out onto the field there very last minute. Like, and it's kind of like this.
You're always years now, big time.
Yeah, but I improved as I went on. I think since I started dating Anna, I had to there now. I was going to get the mallet there fairly quick.
There's a turning point in everyone's life, man.
Yeah. But it's the rush and race, and you're always, the stress levels are always kind of a little bit higher there. So it's kind of nice to just sit back, take a back seat, and just realise that you're rushing and racing, but for no great reason at all there.
Yeah, and you kind of hope when everything eases again that we won't just find ourselves automatically slipping back into old ways and old patterns, that you kind of will take something from the experience.
100%. And the wasteful spending and everything, you kind of realise then as well too, like the amount of money you just waste and spend,
coffee,
buying material stuff that you think, coffee is right, the material things that you buy as well too, that you think that you need.
The coffee machines.
Yeah.
Every house has one now.
Oh, stop. No,
great stuff, lad. Great stuff. So I'm going to go through your accolades here, Bull. 3 under-21 club championships, and you were captain of one and man of the match in another. What year was that? What year did you captain Dromard? I think you might have beaten us actually in Drumlish that year, was it?
The year we bet you in Drumlish, I think, was the year previous. It was the one in the middle, the second one that we won. Because I think Frankie, as far as I recall, Frankie was playing that day, and
he was.
I couldn't remember. Yeah, so that was the second one there. So with that team, that was probably the hardest under-21 that we won out of the three of those.
Who did you beat in the final of that?
Oh, Abilara.
Oh, that's right.
Abilara in the final. Yeah, so they had there was a lot of good teams there. Abilara had
they were strong.
Smith and Podgy Berry. Yeah, no, they were a strong team. And then you had a strong team as well too there as well. Yourself and Joe and who else would be the main players for you there then?
We see a lot, yeah. Well, myself, Joe, we would have been off that age bracket, and then you would have had maybe just a year below us. You would have had Eugene Clark. Damien Bratton was full back in that team as well, actually. we probably would have been. Damien was in his last year, I think. So we would have had a group that would have had another year after that. Would have been the same age as yourself, and then
yes,
another core below that again. So
yeah.
Whereas a lot of your age group had moved on. Would that be right? With Frankie, he would have moved on.
Yeah,
Niall
that was
Vance would have
always
moved on, those lads.
Yeah, that was always our strongest age group, underage. It's kind of we were always we were runners up nearly the whole way through underage there with that team. Because of numbers, were in Division 2 from under 14, under 16, but then for the championships, then once you won, it was kind of like ran off. Like if you want a B championship, you get into an A championship then.
That's right, yeah.
But from under 16 onwards, then we started. We'd get into the A championship final. Clongish was our nemesis.
That's right, yeah. There was great rivalry between you two, and we were always never get past it at all.
They had an unbelievable underage team at that age group, though. They had Enda Williams, Paddy Dow, Joe O'Brien, John O'Brien, Connor Quinn. They were all big lads. They were all grown men as well, too. They're around that age.
Yeah.
And
massive team.
So we were always playing second fiddle to them. So we had lost to them in under 16 championship final, to beat us in a minor championship final. To beat us, Frankie actually ended up getting man of the match in that minor championship final, and they beat us by 8 or 9 points in the end. Kind of go to show how good a game he had against them there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But then we eventually we got over them when we got to under 21. That was our first under 21 championship to win. Was not with that age group, but the age group previous to that. So we only had 2 or 3 more players. My older brother P, and David Pettit and Adrian Maguire. So we didn't have a whole pile of more players added on to that group, but we managed to get over that Clongish team then. So it was a sort of a breakthrough for us, and we won the senior that year as well too. So it was really breakthrough sort of success year for that team after coming through, losing all the finals, and then we eventually got over the line against Clongish. So that was kind of like a mental barrier broke as well too.
Yeah, you'll find, I don't know if you noticed with underage that, even that Clongish team from under 12, under 14, you'll always remember they're twice the size of every other team. But as it went on towards minor, other teams made up that gap, and it became more competitive after minor, if that makes sense, because teams were probably physically stronger at that stage. Whereas the Clongish team probably hadn't, it's probably mad to say, but they probably hadn't grown that much more from when they were 14, 16, because they were huge.
Yeah, well, in our eyes, I suppose they probably hadn't grown that much more. They probably had, but like in our eyes, we were kind of making a gradual. We were catching up with them all the way along. So we were kind of, to us, they weren't seeming as big as you go along. Under 21 under 21 really becomes a great leveler in terms of athleticism and stuff like that there. So,
big time,
in minor you can have some teams that be far more athletic and far further along in their development than other minor teams. But by the time you get to under 21 level, most lads have kind of done all the growing that they're going to do, and you're going to have it's pretty much leveled out. It's pretty much equal ground there in terms of athleticism when you get to that age group then. So
yeah, it's a good competition. That's what the one thing that used to frustrate me about was just the time of the year it used to take place at, because I just don't think you ever see the best of lads late on in the year. If you were having it at a time where lads are kind of prime in the middle of training, coming up to a senior championship, something like that, you get more quality in the
without a doubt there's far too many competitions there in Gaelic games, and they try and cram them all into a tight schedule, and it ends up with the Gaelic games calendar, like 1 year runs into the next year, which is farcical really. But under 21, like what you're saying, it's always been one of the most disrespected competitions. It's been ran off at the end of the year, and they eventually scrapped it. But
which is funny, because it's more of a stepping stone from minor to senior, and that's what kind of doesn't make sense. If whatever hope you have of getting a fella onto a senior squad, if you haven't played with the under 21s, that should be as close as it gets, if you know what I mean. There's like 3 years to play with there to lose a fella if you're banking on bringing a minor through,
most definitely, because as you, like anybody that's played football there, like as you know yourself there, the first year or two that you're in with a county senior team there is you just feel so much smaller. So you feel like there's such a deficiency there in strength and that. Like you actually, you're running around the field kind of hoping you don't get hit there in a sense there.
Where's the
You're playing, you're playing against grown men there, you know. So
and they've
definitely those few years at under 21, you know, they make a massive difference in transitioning there to senior level and just playing at that higher pace and intensity and you know, it was massive for my development as a player. And yeah, when I think back to it there, like under 21 had brought me on, was probably, I was playing good football at that time, but like once I came through that age group, I felt like I'd matured so much more as a player.
Yeah.
But before that, it was kind of, you know, I always felt like I did feel like I was just coming out of minor and I was stepping onto a field there with a lot of lads that were, you know, just, they were far more developed and you felt like you were kind of winging it a little bit there.
Oh, great, yeah, big time. Totally agree. That's great, Jeremy, great. And then obviously of your two senior club championships, the man of the match, that was against Drumlish that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the first year we won the under 21 was 2005.
2005.
We won the senior that year as well too. So I got man of the match in that final with the senior, which
it was a great game actually.
Yeah, it was a good game. Yeah, Drumlish were
flying
that Drumlish team. Obviously, everybody knows the Drumlish team of the 90s. So from, I think it was 96, 97, 98, they won 3 in a row. And from going in as a young lad into watch football in Pearse Park, this Drumlish team they were just a phenomenal team. It just felt like the crowd was so big, and every point that Podgy Davis kicked, you thought he was kicking it from bloody the sideline, and it just felt like, you know,
it was some balls back then, like.
Yeah, oh, for sure, definitely. And
even following them into Leinster one year, I remember, like, the crowd behind them.
I think it was Éire Óg, was it, that year in Leinster there?
Yeah, and then I was trying to think of the team from Kildare that they played in Pearse Park as well.
Oh, Clane
is right, yeah. Was Eddie McCormack on that team and Lynch?
Yeah, Eddie McCormack and who's the other midfielder?
Not Buckley.
No, not Buckley. Willie McCreary.
Oh, that's right.
He in that team as well too.
I think he was.
I'll
tell you a funny one about that one. I ran on to the pitch afterwards. I had a program, and I ran on to get Martin Lynch. Wasn't that his name?
Martin Lynch. Yeah.
I went on to get his signature, and he turned around and he told me where to go without using. Yeah, only a young lad.
He always had a grumpy enough old head in him there.
Yeah, I think back on that, it's very easy to judge a fella with a grumpy head in him, but he certainly, his personality fitted the bill.
Yeah, he was one of the heroes there. Now that you see
the collar up.
I'm not sure if he was your hero on it, but you
not after that.
What age were you then?
Oh, sure. What age was I? Sure, was I good in 10 or 11? I'd say.
Jesus, that makes me even more interested in that, man. Like, what sort of a client personality there tells 10 or 11-year-old?
You see, they're after losing to the Gaels, so I don't know what was after going on for the hour. So
yeah.
But look, it was. I don't know. I didn't really know what to do or say. I just went over to Eddie McCormack and he signed it.
That's gas.
But
Eddie McCormack was he could have been a great man for advertising for Brill Cream ad or something there.
He was ahead of his time, wasn't he?
Some hair product there, L'Oreal or something there.
It'd be interesting to see if he still has it.
Possibly not.
And then see a Leader Cup. You definitely have a couple of Leader Cups, do you?
Yeah, no. One Leader Cup.
One Leader Cup.
God, yeah, another competition there as well too. Played off at the end of the year.
Look,
it does be always.
It's very sweet when you win it, but it's hardship. Like.
Yeah, definitely. And they've it's been made a bit of a mockery of as well too. Did they even finish the competition last year?
Last year, Longford? No. The year one locked the one Leinster, no, because we were due to play them, and it was never played. Like it was.
Yeah,
well, and it's a pity because it's a great competition, but again, I think it's another competition that needs to be played off before the championship.
Oh, for sure. But it's been totally disrespected. And then, it loses its credibility then, really,
Big
when,
time.
you're not playing off competitions at the end of the year. I mean, you don't even get that competition played off, then, the teams start to lose interest in that as well, too. I found over the last few years, it's been very, very hard there. Once you get knocked out of the championship, such a big gap between then if you're up towards the top of the league until you get playing the Leader Cup game. It's next to near impossible to keep a team ticking over around those few months and keep lads kind of committed towards playing a competition, top four in a league and playing maybe a semi-final final when you're waiting for championship to be finished up and for other teams to get knocked out to get playing the competition off. It's nearly impossible to keep a team committed there at that level.
It is. Like, I mean, you look at any sport in the world, even like when the main competition ends, like teams aren't expected to go into another competition afterwards. They're given like 2 months off. So like there has to be, there has to be a break. Like this, like if you think about it, you have your league, that should be capped off before the championship with a Leader Cup final, and then after that you should be going right championship, because once championship is over for a team, that really should be it.
Oh, 100%, definitely. And if that means playing your league with, say, the county, the inter-county and the club, I suppose kind of tying together. If it means playing your league without county players, well, I mean, look, there's lots of teams wouldn't be up for that. And as well, too, if it came down to the club getting relegated and they weren't available then for... So it's not simple there to kind of rearrange the calendar, but definitely something needs to be done.
No, but then I was talking to Shane and Oren Kenny there from McLean and something. They were just telling me about their experience of their club moving up and down each year and how it was very difficult for them to develop as a team, because they were going up into senior and coming back down. And I was just saying to them that, like, maybe you could experiment for a while and just get rid of relegation.
Yeah.
Or that you just finish where you finish on the table, rather than this thing of, like, I don't know how exactly, like, you'd have to obviously sit down and see what way it could work, because some teams would benefit from being an intermediate for a couple of years and then for the right to step up. And then as regards relegation, like, because you could get a young team coming up there like Recline, they win the intermediate to come up onto the senior. They end up in a really difficult group with a well-seasoned senior teams.
Yeah.
And they're relegated again.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's very hard to transition there from one to the next. It nearly could take just even one season there of playing at a bit of a higher standard there to kind of find their feet, and next thing all of a sudden then develop on a little bit further and they can carry that over into the following year or whatever. Yeah. But obviously, you take away relegation means you take away promotion, and what's an incentive then for other teams then to come and try and
unless there was some sort of a seeding basis for championship or something like that, where you finished on the league is where you were seeded for championship, or something like that,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
along those lines.
It's definitely something that needs to be looked at, but we won't. Won't get many solutions here, lad.
You could talk for a while on the calendar,
big time. And then I see, obviously we shared the Division 4 National League title then together with Longford. That was a special one.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean, the fact that we were even in Division 4 that year, like that was a very good Longford team there.
Yeah,
it got back promotions up to Division 2. How we got relegated back down into Division 4 for that one, I think even the year prior to that promotion from Division 4, I think we were in Division 4 as well too.
Yeah.
And we had one of the most horrendous league campaigns where we finished just above London, and Kilkenny, I think, might have even been in the division around that time. Am I right in saying that?
Oh, they were, yeah. I sure have very funny stories in that Kilkenny game.
We were literally the worst team in the country at that by league status then,
And it wasn't.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bad team there. Like, you had some great players. You had Paul Barden was bloody on that team.
Still hanging around, yeah.
Him alone there should be, I sort of figure that you could build a team around there as well.
And Paul's definitely seen it all, like from being riding high to being in that sort of a scenario where things are going really badly and struggling,
Oh, definitely. And that's why it was great that he was captain that year that we won the Division 4, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was great to see him. It was great to see him as one of the most iconic photos there in Longford football circles, where Barden is lifting this tiny little cup above his head there, and the arms are bulging across the head.
Should have been a
The
FO wedding
jerseys
done
were
there or
two
something.
sizes too small there. These big massive arms there and this little tiny little cup above the head there.
Well, you can thank Dave here for that, because like Dave here had a massive role to play in that, in the transformation of that team, I think. You know?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I probably, I would say, one of the first of the weaker teams to kind of bring in that different kind of style of strength and conditioning, more sort of based around obviously the skill set that GAA players have and the whole movement prep and everything that you were doing with the strength. It was an eye opener for me, and yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like he got lads back onto the pitch. Like I know for myself personally, like my injuries just vanished, like with certain stuff he was doing, but he just revolutionized the whole thing. And it was Glenn had just got a right setup, and then sure we rode a wave the whole way up to Division 2. Like it was some run.
Yeah, for sure. And Glenn, I was even just thinking back around that time because I seen on the TV there the other day. I was watching Glenn back in some of the old games that TG4 I think were showing off there. I don't know what it was, and must have been maybe 98 Leinster or something like that there.
Great stuff. I love that.
Anyway, yeah. But I was just thinking to myself there, like when Glenn took us over then as well too, he was a very young manager.
Very sure, probably his first county team. I'd say. I think we were.
Yeah. But he could. What age was Glenn then? That was back in 2000 and.
Talking 10, 9, 10, are you?
Yeah, so it's 2010 there. 2010 we won Division 4, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2011 won Division 3, so it's 2010 back 10 years ago. I'd say Ryan was still in his 30s anyway.
Probably late 30s, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was a great setup, with great run, great experience, serious squad. Like.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, and obviously getting to head up to Crow Park and play a game up there. You know, it's not too often. As a lot of people in their careers there, I suppose. The fact we're from Leinster, we're lucky and unlucky in a sense, but you do get going up to Crow Park and playing more games up there than if you're in a different province like Connacht or Ulster and you're one of the weaker counties there. You're not really going to get an opportunity to go up there as often. Since the league came in, obviously you get the opportunity with the leagues there now, but in Championship. But then if we get going up to play up in Crow Park in Championship, it's usually against the mighty Dubs there now. So it's a bittersweet sort of moment to get going up playing on Crow Park, but then to play against a team that, you know, they're just so much more superior there, you know. So it's
their second home as well. There's a lot to factor in, you know.
Oh, stop! Yeah, no, it's a daunting task now for any team to go up there and play them.
For sure. So tell me, how has life been post-retirement from county?
Look at this photo here. You have the Twitter profile picture here.
I hope it's not real. The stress levels have gone through the roof.
I'll settle for that there now. So get to that age.
So how has life been post-county?
Yeah, post-retirement. My first retirement didn't last too long.
That was only a myth. I don't know who caught on to that.
Yeah. It goes to show now when the paper never refused ink. All right, that's for sure. When they were writing stories about Diarmuid Masterson's retirement there, and they surely hadn't.
And you know
too much to write about that time. Yeah, I took a step away initially there. It was
you were doing a lot of travel that time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was traveling a good bit of work. I was heading down. I was up in Donegal. I was down in Wexford.
How was that? Like, just describe that drive. Like, describe getting into your car in Donegal and driving down to County Trim.
Yeah, I mean,
like what's country
usually. Yeah, not too bad there. I mean, usually when you're coming back down from training, it was good, it was great in a sense. You're in good old form because you might have had to stay away maybe the night before in the middle of nowhere, up in Donegal in the B&B, sharing a room with a couple of lads. And next thing, you're leaving work early the next day. Like my boss there, Sean Hagan there, used to be the manager. Like he was always very good that way. Like when I was playing county there, he was always very accommodating. Like he'd do. Like, there'd be no problem with getting away if you had to get away for a game or train or anything like that. He'd always be accommodating for it. So, like, you'd have to leave a little bit earlier, obviously, if you're that far away to get down for training. So, you're in good form. You're heading home. You're going to come back down for training, and you're going to be getting back, staying in your own place that evening there. So, in that sense, there you're in good tune. In terms of the body and that, like I always felt like I was 100% physically and I was well fit to do all the trainings until I think it was towards the end of that year. I remember my whole hips, lower back, felt like my hamstrings were pulling every time I ran. I was like, this is madness. You know, it was like, couldn't pinpoint an exact injury, but the whole mechanics just weren't working on me at all properly. And it had to be put down to only one thing. It was just the length of time that I was sitting in that position in a van for, like,
of course,
4 hours, even more. You could have been in the van sitting down there for about 6-7 hours a day. So I've always put down towards that, to why, like, my whole body started to shut down. So I've always been fascinated how anybody could be in a driving job, even a courier job, or driving an Arctic lorry or anything like that, and be fit to actually play football or sports or anything there, because you've just been in that position all day. Just
and so many lads do it, like, and it's kind of expected, and it's such a commitment, like, to, like, even because I'm sure you would have had, like, when you were feeling like that, and as you said, your mechanics weren't working, you would have been given certain programs and exercises to do. But, like, after working for how many hours in the day, and then you go back to wherever you were staying, I'm sure there are evenings where you're like, oh, even this is tedious.
Oh, big time. I mean, when you're not playing, football's great there when you're playing and you're out there and you're competing against, a high standard of player. And if you're playing in a good team and the team's playing well and there's good camaraderie and, everything's going good, football is brilliant. But when you're on the sidelines and you're doing all that injury prevention and you're doing all your rehab and everything, and you're trying to get yourself back into a place where you're in the favour of the management, and, like anybody that's been part of even a good club team or inter-county team or anything like that, I mean, when a management team gets settled on a team and the team's going good enough, it's very hard to get back into favour there again. So it can be fairly, like,
it's a job.
It's tough in your confidence in that. When you're used to starting with a team and next thing you're knocked out with a bit of an injury and you're trying to get back and you're doing all that boring stuff that you're doing by yourself, rehabbing and that, and you're trying to get back in the team and you're just not getting the opportunities as well too. You're just getting short snippets at the end of a game there to try and just impress, and it's nearly not enough time there. But it's
tough.
It's for me that year kind of was something similar, just kind of paint a picture for that. And then when it came back around to doing a pre-season the following year, then I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm up for this there, if I'm going to be fit to do all that travel and come back in. So I said, look, I'll take a little step aside there for a bit and see what happens. So then I had conversations obviously with the lads and Dennis and that, and I said I wasn't going back in. And next thing, he had an interview, I don't know, must have been with one of the papers, and he was quoted as saying that Masterson isn't coming back in or whatever. So obviously then straight away, any journalist looking up in the hole and stand, it was like, Masterson has retired, he's not coming back in. Like, it was named with another few boys. The next thing, I had the Longford leader ringing me up then looking for to do an interview with me there based on me playing career with Longford. And I was like, do you know what? I don't really feel comfortable doing that interview. I was like, because in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, no, I actually could see myself playing a little bit more. I didn't say that to them, but I was like, nah, I'll leave that off. Don't really feel comfortable doing that there, present moment of time,
But chuffed they rang you all the same.
Yeah, that's it. And next thing, I went back in, and it was one of the most enjoyable years I've probably ever had, going back in.
I remember that night you came back, we were training in Newtown, were we?
Yeah.
Actually, actually.
The team was going great guns. It was great pre-season. Everybody that I'd been talking to you, and I'd be talking to everybody that was in there. I think it was Kevin Stritch's first year in with us there doing the training, and everybody said that the training was great intensity levels to it there, and very enjoyable.
Such an enjoyable year, that.
Yeah, everything was done real snappy there. Like, everything was, to the point with time. It was an hour-long session, and you packed everything into it. Like, you were going from drill to drill. There was no hanging around. So it was enjoyable. The trainings were enjoyable. It was everything that everybody had painted the picture for me before I came in.
Right mix, like a lovely mix. And did you? Had retirement been in your head then at that stage, or was it something you thought about?
No, not at all, really.
Or
I don't know how.
how did it come about? I suppose, how did you come to the
I doubt
decision?
anybody. I don't. Yeah. Well, so I went back in that year and I played that year. I played the following year after that then as well too. Yeah, that was still with Dennis then as well too. It was kind of. I suppose when the management had been switched up and Podgy had come in, and when a new management team comes in, everybody starts back off then level playing field. You're trying to, they haven't managed you before, just because you've been in there for 10, 11, 12 years, it doesn't matter. I mean, they want to see you putting in maximum effort for them, and they want to see you have to prove to them that you're still good enough to be down the team sheet and getting playing. I suppose it's just when I started to think more and more about that, I started to say to myself, well, are you going to have the motivation? Are you going to have the commitment levels there to, go in here midweek, a few times a week, and give up 4 or 5 hours of your evening? You're basically giving up your whole evening. You're coming back from work, you're going in, that's it, you're training, and that evening's done. So it's like, do you have the motivation levels for that? And when you start asking those questions, like, you'd want to be really excited about going into it there. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So if you're not excited about the thoughts of going in there and doing the trainings and meeting up with the lads and building up to playing the championship, you need to be excited about all that smaller stuff as well too. So I wasn't really excited about doing that there. It seemed more like it was going to be, it was going to be more of a chore for me to try and get myself into the headspace to do that. So
that's the key word, isn't it? Chore. Like when that even comes into your vocabulary like that, it's a sign.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I started to look for in my head, I started to paint a picture to myself there of like travelling 2 minutes up the road there to my local pitch, Dromard, doing a training session, starting back later, having a long off season, then travelling 2 minutes up and 2 minutes home after an hour session. I'm like, that's an hour gone in the evening. Like, that's
having time again.
That's a massive thing. Playing football. It's just so much less time consuming there than what it would be for intercounty. Yeah. Heading off for league games there, heading off the weekend, the Sunday, and you're gone for the entire day. Like, it's great. It's mighty, especially when you're winning. Very enjoyable trips. But it does wear on you there. As the longer that you've been in there, and, I suppose everybody is getting older there, to start to value their time more, and you think to yourself there,
you look at things differently.
Yeah, do you want to be spending as much time at this, or do you want to be kind of starting to venture into other things, or see, what are other interests there?
Yeah,
different avenues.
Kind of like, because you're kind of thinking, like, you're still a young man, like, and you're kind of thinking, right, if there's something else I'd like to pursue here, I'd like time to be on my side for it, rather than giving this thing another 4 or 5 years. But then, like, what condition are you going to be in at that stage?
For sure, 100%. And then as well as that, you want to kind of come out on top as well. You don't want to be like
going that was a really positive year. Like, that was a really feel good year in every way, shape or form. Like, it was.
Oh, definitely. And the fact that you're, playing with a team that's playing at a high level, like competitively. Obviously, we're never going to be winning All Ireland's. You're never really going to be winning Leinster's there, while you have a team like Dublin there as well too. But in terms of, like, we were probably at the peak of our powers there, and most teams that we go out to play outside of the real top team there, like in Dublin,
and Toplin Mead was a massive result for us as well.
Yeah, I mean, we could be competitive with all those teams there. Yeah. We had a good standard of footballer, and we're well conditioned, and I always felt that we'd very, very strong mentally. Going into any games there, we never really feared any Ulster teams or anything that we played against there, which would have been, always very physical, very well conditioned, and
if anything, we were probably
high standards.
Extra psyched playing those teams. We're kind of outside ourselves, really.
Yeah, for sure. Enjoyed the challenge there. Embraced it there.
Great stuff. Good insight, Jeremy. Brilliant.
Yeah, no, but if you're asking with the post-retirement there, I mean, since I finished up there, well, with this lockdown as well too, I'm just flat out running the roads there. So
Not overdoing that, I
Five,
hope. Road
five
running's hard as
Ks.
well. 5Ks.
Huh?
5Ks, yeah.
5Ks and 10Ks is where it's at there now.
Now,
Can't wait till
are you a time runner, or you do it for the count, for the
Oh,
head, for enjoyment?
I should just go out and just run, but once you start clocking a time, it becomes nearly addictive. They're trying to beat a time
Obsession.
then as well too, and it's weird. Like you nearly actually get nervous there before you thinking about the run because you're like, you're pushing yourself when you're running there. You're pushing yourself past your limit there a little bit. You're like, oh, you're really busting yourself there to get a good time. And next
Yeah,
thing you're like, all right, I want to enjoy this run. So I started thinking to myself, right, I'll go for a longer run so I don't have to run as fast. And I
yeah,
just said to myself, right, I'm running long, so I'll just take it off nice and easy because I can't start busting myself there trying to beat these 5K times the whole time.
I
Next
know.
thing you take off and
Something else
you
to
say to
take off.
yourself, oh,
Take off the bone.
I'm gonna do a 16K or something. Next thing, all of a sudden, the phone rings out there. I do carry the phone on an alarm band. Next thing, she reads out after a kilometre or two that I'm after running there a kilometre at the same pace that I'd be running a kilometre, running a 5K. I'm like, oh Jesus, I'm after totally losing the running myself there. All
Lord bless us. Keep. Good luck keeping that up.
yeah. So then you hit the wall. Then you hit the wall shortly after that. Then especially when you're trying to run a longer distance run, you're like, oh, you have to do it to yourself again. Absolutely no idea how to pace myself running long distance.
You learn yet. So come here.
Yeah.
Tell me about Diarmuid Masterson growing up. Was Gaelic football always to the forefront, or where did the nickname Bull come from, or was it inherited?
Oh, inherited. Yeah. No,
You
that
hadn't a
was
say in the matter, really.
no. There's no great story behind that apart from that it was passed down through the generation there from my dad, Mickey Bull. He's the original Bull, so he is. So
Right,
we're all
you're a descendant.
we've all got that tag with us there. The brother P Bull and the younger brother then Emmett Baby Bull, and then I'm
I love it.
yeah Dan Bull in the middle then So no that's it. It's just that's been passed down.
And was football always big
But,
in your household, Dan, growing up? Yeah.
huh?
Was football always big in your household growing up? Was Gaelic football always number one?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Stephen
football.
Lynch. Stephen Lynch reckons you would have been a great flanker.
A flanker, rugby,
Rugby, yeah.
definitely loved the rugby now. But I played a little bit of rugby as well too, but never got playing in the forward pack there as a flanker. And like that would be an interesting role to play there. Coming off scrums there, putting in tackles and that. But any time I went in to play rugby, I suppose it's more of you'd need more of an understanding. You want more experience playing in the forward pack in a
You
rugby.
just want to be
In a
playing
rugby
it,
team.
really, wouldn't you?
You definitely. But whenever I was involved, they played rugby a bit in mine, and I went in and I played a little bit with Longford, and I'd get stuck in full back, or you get stuck in on the wing or second centre or something. But I loved it there, definitely.
Mm.
Really did enjoy rugby. I loved the physicality of it.
There's a lot of lads glad you didn't take it up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I loved it. I just loved the physicality of rugby there. I mean, when I started off playing senior with the football, the Gaelic, you could definitely, it was more man marking, wasn't it, at the start? And
Yeah.
you could definitely be more physical. You could put in, a good hit shoulder wise and that. Whereas more players are kind of more protected there now. And if you put in the shoulder charge is nearly gone out of Gaelic football there now. You can't really go in and put a shoulder in somebody.
Unless you blatantly go and do it just for your own satisfaction.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, it's a yellow card nearly all day, every day there now, or a black card in some instances there. If you
It
don't
can be very
time it
frustrating at
perfectly
times
well.
to see two lads going for a ball and like fair shoulder and referee blowing it up. Like it's kind of.
Yeah, no, the physicality has definitely been took off Gaelic football, but with rugby, you always had that sort of physical element there. So that
always appealed to you.
For me, it was always endearing. Like I always was definitely drawn towards rugby there. But I remember playing a game with Longford, I think it was rugby before, and I got a late hit, and it was hit in the side and around the ribs, and it was just soft tissue damage. But I felt like my ribs were broke there. I couldn't actually move for 3 or 4 days. I don't know if anybody ever got soft tissue damage there around the
Oh, I
rib
did.
area.
Actually, I fractured a rib there 2 years ago. The most
Oh man,
horrendous thing I've ever been through.
it's most uncomfortable as well. You can't sit down,
Can't
stand up.
sleep.
You're never comfortable.
No.
Never comfortable at all. So I was like that for a few days. I wasn't fit to move. I was cooped up in the house. I never as much as got one call from anybody to see how I was, or maybe didn't. Nobody probably didn't know really the extent of how sore I was. Like, so I didn't get a call or anything like that. There was no like kind of follow up with, or we'll get you in, we'll get you physio, we'll get you back right and everything. So I was only really playing the thing recreationally and that. So, but the Gaelic football, that was the biggest eye opener with me growing up, was how professional Gaelic football was took there, even from an underage right through the senior. Like how they'd look after you. Like there's nearly like a liaison officer in every club there that's pretty much on top of any player gets any injury at all. They're straight away on to it. Sean Conifey with Diarmuid was a great man at just following up and making sure that everything was right with you there. Like get you back, get you in for scans, get you doing that and there. So it was always this sort of, you always felt like it was more professional, even though it's amateur sport. You always felt like it was ran more professionally there. The whole
Well, I have to say on that, and I'm not just saying because I'm talking to you, but like I always admired your club, Diarmuid. I always admired the way you did things. Even like, and my father actually used to speak highly of Diarmuid as well. And it's just the people even associated with you. And I was thinking even there more recently with Danny O'Toole, who was in helping around the county and meeting, people who'd be involved in your club. You'd meet them on the street and they'd be chatting. Like he had so many good people and still have so many good people that put work into your teams. Like they're just. That's one thing that struck me about them. Like they're remarkable people.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and every suppose we're a really small rural club as well too. So
everything's tighter.
Longford's a small county and Diarmuid's a small parish in Longford there. So I mean, there's a lot of years there where Diarmuid wouldn't have had any success at all. It wouldn't even the thought process wouldn't have even been going towards winning championships around. It was basically about keeping a team there, maintaining a club and that. It wasn't really ever a mindset towards success. And then a good team came along and they won a championship in '99. Probably was better teams than them even, but they came along with a very good manager, Dennis Carton. And
but do you think for your group that came through, Diarmuid, there was good things in place for you? Because I know it's only a mad thing, but it's after popping into my head now. I remember you guys running out for a championship game one time to warm up in slashers, and you had night tops. Right? Yeah. I'm looking over this going, these Diarmuid lads have night tops. They were just class at the time. But like that was where your setup was at. Like that sort of way, like even to have the kind of the guts to go for something like that, or it was just kind of like that. Like you mightn't have thought so, but something small like that added to your group psychologically.
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned it there, all right, yeah, I remember thinking back those night tops that we got. That's right. I don't know who was in charge of getting the gear that year, but they obviously decided that they were going to try something different or whatever. Yeah. But they probably ended up cheaper than the O'Neill's gear. Even,
yeah, Pro Direct.
You wouldn't be. Yeah, you wouldn't be surprised. But it was always. I was fortunate anyhow when I growing up playing Gaelic football, because Diarmuid was always well organised there from underage for me and right up through to senior. We were just after moving out. They used to play in an old pitch down in Kiltacon, and it was just a glorified field. Like there's cattle grazing in it there now. It was no level ground at all, and that was
a war zone.
Yeah, that's what was before I came on playing football, and that's what Diarmuid Club was until 97, I think it was, that they opened up a pitch, a new field up above it there at Leggett Cross, just down below from the church. And that's all I've ever experienced really through my playing career. So when I started off playing football from under 10s right through, I was playing on one of the newest, best fields in the county at the time. So it always felt like a real professional environment to be involved in, with a lot of enthusiastic, what you're saying, club members at that time. They're running the thing really well. But any club that has success there, they need that. They need people there behind the scenes there that are just like,
It was great for those lads that it paid off with success then in later years,
That's it. That's what they're getting the quiet for the satisfaction from there. But even with Kilo there, with yourself there now in recent years, obviously there's a very hard-working executive there. There's a lot of very hard-working voluntary people there for that club to have the success that it is.
You need everybody on the same hymn sheet. Like, you need everybody thinking the same way. Yeah, and like you have to keep up to date. And that's one thing that always struck me with you guys was you were always up to date in your techniques and your ways. Like even as regards your warm-ups before games and all that, you were always up to date as regards, what other teams, the successful teams were doing, even outside of Longford.
When you get it, like no more than yourself there with Kilo and that and the success that you have. When you get that little bit of taste for success, you start to strive for perfection all the time there to try and get back. To what you start looking back there at the years you were successful and start saying to yourself, well, what did we do that year? What do we do well? What can we improve on? You start looking for all the little ingredients there that make a team successful, and you start trying to apply that to yourself there. As the years go on, you keep trying to get back to that point where you're winning county championships, and that kind of carries the team along there. You need a little bit of luck,
of course. Everyone in championship has had luck.
Well, that's it exactly.
Along the way, definitely.
Some teams haven't won. Players have gone through their career without winning a championship. Which
you forget that very easily.
Definitely, it's easy to think back to the county finals that you've lost or the semi-finals that you've lost, but I mean, to even just experience it once there, and I've been fortunate. I've been part of 2 successful championship teams there. I definitely would be. I'd be more grateful than I would be regretful of my playing career.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because like I remember I was playing something like I could have been playing with Kilo maybe 12, 13 years before I even got to a county final.
Yeah.
A county semi-final even. 2012 was the first time I ever got to a county semi-final. Yeah.
That's the first time you got to a county semi-final?
Actually, it was my second time in a semi-final. The last time before that was, I think it was 2001. Could never get past quarterfinals.
That's absolutely crazy for me to try and fathom that there, because like that 2012 team that you had was very, very good team there, and that team didn't just come on over. Like, you had a lot of really top quality players there from even previous years before that. For you to say that was your first semi-final since 2001 or around then.
I remember being in the huddle. We were actually, and I'm nearly sure in every championship we were successful in, we had to overcome Yi, or we met Yi along the way, and I think there was no difference in 2012 after a replay. And I remember we had a huddle afterwards in that game up the end of the pitch, and I was just kind of saying to the lads, like, God, I just had the penny had dropped me. It's like, God, this is my first county final ever that I'm heading into. And I was thinking, like, when you start off playing, you're like, it's what you want. You want that championship. But then after, you do question after 10, 11, 12 years, like, God, will this ever happen? Or, will I ever even get into a final to contest it?
Yeah. No, I see. That's it's funny for, like, when you're saying that there, that's the sort of mindset that you were coming through there, was because you didn't taste success at an early age, but then you've tasted a lot of success there.
And I find that can be a problem nowadays, like with too much success underage. Like our team that came through, so until 2012, the last championship medal I had won was under 14. So I had no experience so I would have always had the hunger though. You always have that hunger to win. So I suppose that's, like, when I look back now, that was invaluable to me, the fact that I hadn't won anything.
Oh, for sure, yeah. No, the hunger would definitely only ever increase there with the less you've won over the years. There, that burning desire there to just get to a county final and just get that little bit of success there, for sure. Even if the body is starting to fail you there, definitely you motivation levels there wouldn't be starting to wane in it.
For sure. So come here, talk to me about what drove you all these years. What still drives you to play? What drove you to commit? What drove you to give everything to football?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously without throwing out too many cliches there. Probably a podcast of cliches there from me already there, but yeah, I just enjoy it. Like I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be doing it there. You know,
who would have been your inspirations coming up, getting on while you played with Longford, while you still play, while you're coming?
Yeah, well, I mean that '99 championship winning team there with Dromard. I was starting secondary school. Then boys landed up with the cup up to the secondary school, and you know, it's just something that you'd find yourself have. There was a great sense of pride there where you were from. Then you know, when you seen the lads landing in, and you know, there's some great players in that team. There were Cathal Conifrey and Porrick Jones and Paul Jones. It's just some great players there that would have been sort of went quietly about the business there. Eugene McEnroe, great cornerback. And
had you a favourite on that championship winning team?
Favourite on that championship winning team? Sure, I'd have to say Cathal Conifrey there. Like Cathal Conifrey definitely would have been. He would have been somebody I'd have looked up to. Yeah, looked up to definitely from in football terms. Played in similar position. I played around the full back line there a fair bit. Charles always been stuck in around full back.
Such a wholehearted player, my God.
For sure, and just a lot of athletic abilities there. Like, but just you know, quiet, unassuming sort of character there. Like you wouldn't.
Unassuming.
He'd go about his business there. Like, yeah, exactly. If you went to Markham, you'd know all about it there. If you ran into you there, and you'd find
even
out.
In his latter years, he was still as tight as ever. Like he'd just go through you.
Yeah, he'd ferocious pace there as well too. Charles,
wicked. You knew if you didn't win that ball and turn quick, he was coming through you.
It's a great hands and the whole lot. He was the sort of fella there as well too. He was captain of Dromard nearly most of the way through from my playing career, and I think it was Jonesy, Porrick Jones. Yeah, was captain for the 2007. 2005 was Charles. When Charles spoke though, when he'd get you into a huddle there, and he'd be riled up after training session. When he'd start speaking, the words just flowed out of him there. You know.
Yeah.
He just and Everton was just inspiration. Everton was coming straight from the heart there. And you could hear a pin drop in the room there when he started speaking. Everybody just went quiet. He grabbed everybody's attention straight away.
Yeah,
so he was very inspirational figure there for me, playing football, part of that successful team. So then, when I get in around county level, obviously Paul Barden, sure, Paul Barden. That Clongish team as well too was successful in 2003, 2004. They won 2 championships, and they hammered us, I think, in 2004. But I remember I was sent out to Mark Paul in 2005, and it was just like this. You were just so revved up to play against this player. Like he was just so good there that you just felt if you won like 1 or 2 balls off him there, like what it done for your confidence playing against him.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that day that he didn't absolutely roast me there. But like it was a great experience for me there, just even Mark and Paul just playing against them there, and then to come in then the county set up then after that year and join, start playing with him. Paul's sound fella there, like so 100%. It was easy. Like it was easy to transition there to getting in playing football with him there. Like, but he's definitely somebody so exciting there, so much flair about him there when he's playing as well.
Oh, look at. It's just such a rare one, isn't he?
Yeah. No, great player there. So
like your big days then, say you're the massive occasion, maybe Pearse Park, we're playing Tyrone, or we're heading up to Croke Park to play Dublin. What's the mass and ritual the day of the game?
Oh, the day of the game, I'm definitely not a man now that goes through the same routine the whole time in terms of food before a game, or pack the same stuff in the bag or anything like that. Or I'm completely alone. There's no superstitions whatsoever.
No blue towel.
No, every day is different there for me. Heading off to a game there, so it's kind of it's a good way to be in a way, but then it's a good way to be when you go out and you play well in the game. But then when you don't play well, you start to say to yourself, well, Jesus, what did I do wrong there now? I should have been probably up a bit earlier, should have ate a little bit earlier. You start questioning everything you've done,
Yeah.
When you go out, you perform well in the game, you start saying to yourself, well, I wish I could just like, how can you get those set of circumstances the same all the time where you actually,
Sure, it's nearly
you perform,
impossible.
yeah, you performed to your peak there, you went out and you felt great running, and you mentally you were in great shape, and you went out and you played great football and that. But like, you know, exactly what you said, it's almost impossible to get the same set of circumstances before every single game. So there's no point in really worrying about it that much there. I always try and relax myself as much as possible going into a game. I find that if I get too built up there thinking about it too much too long before the game, that like just waste a heap of energy there. Like that,
Yeah.
by the time it comes around to actually doing a warm up and everything, you just feel drained.
But
So, yeah,
from looking at you from the outside, you know, you always look calm and chilled out, and was like that's what it looked like on the outside. So was that the same story on the inside?
yeah. I think I have a good way. I'd say of just being fit to switch things off there, not think about it there at all. Kind of zone myself out there in that sort of sense there. So I can, you know, my mind can just wander off to a different, you know, setting there when I'm stuck in around football dressing rooms there, and you know, I wouldn't be thinking about what's coming. So when I go out on to do a warm up or at, and I find like if you're ever doing some of these slow warm ups and you're trying to get the whole mobility and everything like that, and then I'd usually always try and just get away from the group just before you come in, and then like hit a few hard sprints just to really feel like I'm getting, you know, the body worked up there going into the game. I always felt like I had to get like a few hard sprints done there, even by myself. If I didn't feel like I had done enough in a warm up, I always felt like I had to get that in before I go out to play a game, because that for me there was what I needed there to prepare myself there to
Yeah,
get,
it's so
you
different
know.
for everybody. It's one thing. Myself and my father used to go to the rugby games in Lansdowne Road years ago, and that's one thing I always remembered from the warm ups before the games was like the individuality of warm ups. Like everybody was doing something different. So you had like lads in certain groups, you know, some lads off on their own. They were all doing something different. There
Yeah,
wasn't much of a collective warm up. Like you have said there, that worked for you, but that mightn't work for another fella.
yeah, exactly. And that's, I suppose, when you start basing, if anybody's ever doing coaching and that, and you're basing your whole warm up around the team and its totality, then I mean that's where, you know, it mightn't, exactly what you say, suit certain players and might suit other players there. So I think training in general is starting to gear towards more individual kind of
Yeah.
training in with gyms and stuff like that. And yeah, for strength and conditioning, it's definitely more individual based
Yeah.
programs.
Well,
And
everyone's
that's,
different, you know.
yeah, and that's the
It's
way
to
it's
be
kind
argued.
of sort of transferring out onto the football field as well too. You need a different skill set for playing in different positions as well too.
Of
Probably more
course.
so in rugby, it definitely would be glaringly different skill sets needed in different positions. In Gaelic football, I suppose people start to tell you more and more there now that, you know, the number on your back is just a number there now in Gaelic football,
Oh,
because
definitely. Yeah.
two to 15, you're up and down that field there. But if you wanted to look at it a little bit, you know, go deeper into it there, if you're playing the full forward line or full back line, most of your work you're going to be doing is going to be short, snappy sprints there.
Yeah.
You know, one-on-one there, positions there where you're going to need to be turning quickly with a forward or whatever. You're going to need to be making a sharp burst out to just get out in front for that ball or get a hand in tackling. You're playing around midfield, half back line areas. You're going for longer distance runs. You know, you're up and down a good bit more. So in terms of warm ups, how can you give the same warm ups then to both those
Yeah.
players if you're going to train
Yeah.
them differently? Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, for me anyway, I just needed to get those longer runs in, those sprints, really kind of work up a second wind, as they say.
Second one is right, yeah. So God, you'll be waiting for that for a while, some of us.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
fair play, man. That's great. How important is football to you now?
how important is football to me now? I suppose in the current situation, they're locked down now, and that really makes you kind of realize, you know, in a way that there's way more important things in life than
Yeah,
football and sports.
of course.
But for me, I've even realized just as much now, from being kind of everything slowing down to a pace, and you know, things being shut down, and certain avenues being shut off to you there that you can't go on and enjoy life there. You're sort of locked away. I've even realized more how much Like, I love sport, not just football, but all sports
in general. Yeah, you'd really miss it, wouldn't you?
Got anything, golf. You know, I love sitting down. It's like what people say. You know, I'd be a big movie buff as well too. I love a good movie. I love a good TV show. But with sport, you don't know what's going to happen. You just literally, you could be sitting down watching an event in sport, and you mightn't realize at the time, but you could be watching one of the most iconic finals or some of the most iconic sports players to ever play the game. You could be watching them in that present moment. Like, I remember, I don't know what year it was, with Nadal and Federer, the amazing final that they had in Wimbledon.
Yeah.
I remember watching that at the time, and next thing was just rally after rally after rally, and you're thinking, I'm watching something special here.
Incredible.
And you didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Nobody had ever seen it before. You didn't know what the next move was going to be. So that's something in sport that it kind of it brings something up in you, a certain set of emotions, you could say there, that, you know, I find it hard really to get that from anything else.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of like films or.
That's what keeps you involved, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sport is great that way. You know, even talking about, you know, thinking back to different games that you played in or games that you watched and everything. You know, you can kind of, you can feel those emotions building back up in you again there, even thinking back about it there. So that's something, it's been a massive, massive part of my life there. I don't regret, you know, throwing myself into football. Some of the best memories that I have there have been on a football field, you know, moments after games there where you've done something that people haven't expected you to do, beating a team that, you know, people never expected you to beat, and then meeting people then afterwards coming onto a field that you've never even met before, but you have this connection with them because you're from the same place and because they're in such a happy place after watching the game, and you're in such a good place after playing it, and, you know, you make that connection. It's hard to get that in any other walk of life there.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with all that. I was looking through a few pictures here the other day, and that was against Mead, the no football boots.
Yeah.
What happened there again?
It got a bit of attention, all right, yeah. Well, I was actually looking at a few of the photos that you had up prior to that as well too, and you could see maybe the same pair of football boots on me there. The same pair of football boots on me for most photos. So I was talking to you earlier on about not being superstitious or whatever, but like, I had these pair of football boots.
You've been found out.
These pair of Adidas Predators there, and
on their last
I wouldn't
legs,
even say it was superstition, but my God, the boots, they were the most comfortable pair of football boots I ever got, and I just did not want to part with them for that. And as for love and money there, I wasn't going to get rid of these football boots. So I pushed them to the limit, and the limit was that day against Mead, and when the whole bottom of the boot there came off in the middle of the game, and me being the well prepared player that I was there, had no second pair of football boots with me. So who was it? I think it was borrowed somebody's boots from the sideline there. It was Mark Nally, was it?
Oh, they must have been massive on you.
Yeah, he was part of. Yeah, I think his boots.
That's right.
His boot. I have a fairly wide foot there, but he had a pair of New Balance there, and that was the thing that saved me. He was about a size above me, but the New Balance are such a narrow boot that they were tight enough on me there anyway. So I'd throw on his old New Balance. But it was funny because I was going to the sideline, and I was like, I need boots, throw me in boots or whatever, you know. It's the middle of the game, and like, I was going to go off the field, and I don't know who was. I think it was Mickey Quinn or somebody shouted at me, stay on the field, you can't go off the field or whatever, you know, stay on the field or whatever. So I stayed on the field playing without the boots for a little bit of time. The next break that came, I was like, throw us in a pair of boots. The next thing, the boys turned around. They're turning around to the bench. Boots. Everybody's sitting there on the bench like, not the fucking chance you get my boots. Sorry, pardon the language there.
Oh, you're all right.
Not a chance is you getting my boots. You know the way everybody be. They're looking the
real protective,
direction there. Lads running out of the bench there to go for a bit of a warm-up there and just avoid the situation.
Boys have to polish in the boots the night before. There's no way they were giving them up.
Stop. So poor old Mark had to cough the boots up there. He's around my size, and so he threw them in reluctantly, and then needless to say, Mark didn't get a run that day, But
imagine if he was called. The
we,
poor lad was called like.
we got across the line, and
It'd be just like what it was just like he get et for having no boots. Like, well, what God here? What are you doing coming to a match with no boots?
Yeah. He was the hero that day.
Oh, Chris, right? Tell me about your greatest achievement to date.
Greatest achievement to date in sport. Well, I suppose when you think back, I'd have to say it was my first real taste of success there at senior there at the club, in 2005. Just to get across that line there, for me, that's a day that'll always kind of be a special day for me there, thinking back to it in terms of, my memory there. It was just such, like, from that, yourself there, the first county final that you win, that feeling.
Very special.
It's just, it's so special there. It's hard to describe there. To somebody that's never experienced it before. I'd say they can imagine what it's going to be like there. But I mean, you're building up to it there. I suppose I got early in my career, but still, it's such a big build up to a county final, and you're playing against your neighbours. We were playing against Underage at the time, and they had such a successful team from before us. So it's all the whole anxiety and the whole build up to it, and your whole club and parish and everybody's rowing in behind you, and the build up goes on for a few weeks. And when you get to that day to actually put in a performance that's good enough to get you across the line, that's just a great feeling there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Get across the nerves and everything. But that, from a club perspective, I would say definitely. But I'd say most enjoyable day in a county jersey, and it wasn't even the win. I mean, I really loved that league title that we won up in Crow Park there. That time it was great. Just to get that little bit of silverware. You don't get too much in Longford. We've been beaten in a couple of Byrne Cup finals there, which still don't really kind of sit well with me. Especially
it's a medal. I'd love that.
Park. My God, 5 points up, the game was over, and they scored 2 goals at the end of the game.
Yeah, crazy.
That one was a tough one to take. It's only a Byrne Cup, but I mean,
even losing to Meath there recently was tough as well. Like,
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Because
we
were going well on that.
There, when you get to those days, you really want to get your hands on some silverware. But that qualifier game against Monaghan, for me, will forever stick in my mind. We played them there a few years ago.
Unbelievable. I was over doing the Camino when I heard. I had seen then the result on Twitter. I was over at the Camino at that time. That walk, Camino de Santiago.
Yeah. How did you enjoy that?
That was some bitch. Oh, it was some experience. Yeah, but I remember thinking back, God, I'd love to have been involved that time.
That's right, yeah. Sure, even it only came to me there now when I was talking about it there that you actually weren't involved that year. You came in the following year then, didn't you?
Came back in again, yeah.
Yeah, which was great there. I think Porrick as well too. Did he come back in the next year?
He came back in as well, I think, at the same time.
Yeah. No, that was great because that year, that's why we really rode the crest of a wave then the following year then, wasn't it? We got on a good run.
That's when Owen and Kate and Stritch came in then, was it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Because that year we realised that Monaghan, I know Monaghan's a smaller county as well too, and Longford and Monaghan probably competed well enough over the years, but that particular Monaghan team
was flying.
They were on the road a while, and they were also champions the previous year. Yeah. And they were after coming from playing Donegal, who they played in 2 games. Went to a replay, and Donegal eventually just got over the line with them. And we were playing them up in Clonus, which is, amazing place to go and play a game there. Like it's.
You see, Monaghan were one of those teams. They're one of the very few teams who were really putting up to Dublin too, and coming.
For sure, yeah.
That was a serious win.
Very athletic team with a lot of really talented footballers there. So for us, we were going up there with completely raw off. It was just a matter of how much we were going to get bet by. And as the game went along, and the further we kind of stayed in it, and we got off to a great start, and then they scored a goal just before half time, which was a sucker punch, and they might have kicked on in the second half, but we were the ones that came out of the blocks first. And then as the game kind of goes on, you kind of think to yourself, this could be a special day. Like we could be part of something special here today now and get across the line. When you did get across the line, that's what I was talking to you earlier on about fans coming on that you'd never met before. Man was a great for me down in the house, and I had a bit of an old beard in me that day, but this fella came onto the field. I must get his name there. There's a picture of us down in the house there.
Do I have this picture? Actually think I have this picture coming up.
This older fella there, this big lump of a, he's like Gandalf there, so he is, Lord of the Rings there, this big white beard on him.
I have the picture. I have the picture. Is this it?
Oh, stop. That's it, yeah. Shaking hands there. Pre-coronavirus there.
Is it true you pinged the ball over the bar that day with the outside left foot?
Oh, I kicked two with the left, and one with the right there that day. I didn't know. I
think over the years you were trying to convince people you were left footed, were you?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I seen a great one there of Shane Walsh actually from Galway. Now I'm not in no way trying to compare myself to Shane Walsh there.
Oh,
but
why not?
Shane Walsh, yeah.
The touch
Shane Walsh is surely a man there now. That my left foot was definitely my weaker foot there. You know, could boom a ball longer with the right, but I worked on my left there. I worked on my left there over playing days, and you know, I got to a point there where, you know, it was fairly capable of kicking a point right there. But I definitely would have been more comfortable on my right. But Shane Walsh there was funny. There was a story about him when he was playing, and the manager tried to break him up into a couple of groups. So whoever was their left foot was the weakest foot, come over this side, and the right foot's the weakest foot, come over this side. And Walsh kind of left in the middle there at the end of it. And you're wondering, like, your man's like, what's wrong with you? And it's kind of like, I actually don't know which is my weakest foot. There's a clip of him there as well online. I've seen it there today where he just controls the ball. There's 45 kicked in, kind of half shanked, and it's coming full pace in, a low trajectory at Walsh, and he just stops it with the right foot in the middle there, kind of just knocks it up into his hands.
Yeah, I've seen that clip. It's brilliant.
Spins onto the left and clips it over the bar.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, no, that day I kicked two with the left and one with the outside of the right that day. But I mean, it was just kind of like, you know, you're playing at such a high level of confidence, and you were in the middle of the game, like, you don't even think about it. You've got another day there where the pressure wouldn't be as high, and you'd probably kick them all wide. So it's funny when you get into that zone there in a game like that there, and when the stakes become a little bit higher and the pressure increases a bit, that you find that you get into a zone there where you actually your levels of concentration increase as well too.
Yeah, for sure. And like, that's why it's such a great picture. It kind of just sums up, as you were saying, that feeling after a game and after such a victory. You come across these people and you see what it means.
Yeah.
And I suppose that sparks the question then, you know, how would you like to be remembered from your county career?
Oh, how would I like to be remembered? To be, if I'm being purely honest with that there, I don't really mind. It wouldn't really bother me. It never really has bothered me there what people think of me there when I go out to play football. I mean, it's not gonna be something that ever affect me going forward there. I mean, it's nice that people wouldn't think of you that you're, you know, that it wouldn't be remembered for all the sending offs maybe that I've got over the years. There,
I haven't mentioned any of them now. You have to give me credit.
Overzealous in the tackle. I think I had 1 year there where I completely lost the running myself there. I was getting sent off in most games, where it was just pure losing the running myself at the end of the game there, where the game was going against us and you could sort of see the game slipping away, and next thing I'd lash out then, you know, which
Red mist was rising.
Yeah, I matured on from that then, you know, to the following year where I was kind of like, you know, you had to kind of rein in a little bit, especially if you try not to pick up the first yellow there, you're leaving yourself on a tightrope. But I'd like to not be remembered for all the sending offs. If it was going to be said, what to be remembered from a career, just I suppose that what most players would like to be remembered would be that when you went out and you pulled on Longford jersey or Diarmuid jersey, whatever, that you didn't hold back there, that you gave it everything, you know, that you came across that, you know, you're out there, that you were passionate about who you were playing for. And that's the way I've always kind of felt when I was going out to play for Diarmuid or Longford there. You know, I was always passionate about pulling on the jersey and, you know, giving it your best shot there, trying to, you know, bring some sort of satisfaction there to supporters and to your family. And yeah, no, that's pretty much what I'd like to be remembered from career. And yeah,
I don't think there's anyone that could ever say that about you, Dan. I don't think your heart or passion or drive could ever be questioned. Like I think you'll always be you'll always be a legend of the game in Longford. Like, you've been a phenomenal servant over the last few years, and you'll always be in conversation, as far as I'm concerned, when people are talking about Longford football. So, but I know I get what you mean. Like, you're not bothered, and like that's a great way to be as well, because you have to be content with yourself at the end of the day, and not being too bogged down with other people say, or
Oh,
you'd be forever searching then for gratitude. But
yeah, for
like,
sure. But then it's a great way of motivating when you're playing as well too. When I say that, like, I loved playing for Longford, and I still love playing with the club, and I loved my whole football career and that. But I've always kind of played with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I've always kind of felt, you're saying that I'd be remembered as one of the greats with, like, of recent with Longford teams and stuff. But I've never ever felt that I've had that status there, or I've never felt like that I deserved that. So I've always kind of played with this sort of inferiority sort of complex when I got onto the field. I always had something to prove. I think that was maybe what gave me that little bit of an extra edge there. Certain times they're kind of driving me on there, feeling that, like, I always needed to prove something there, that I wouldn't have been recognised as the most skillful, or recognised as a player that would kick good points and stuff in the game. So I've always always wanted to kind of just push myself on that little extra bit there, just have that little bit of a chip on the shoulder, just always feel like you're trying to prove something the whole time, and trying to get recognition then for it. So
that's what makes you who you are.
It's a good way of kind of trying to build up some sort of motivation. You watch Michael Jordan there the other day, there he's making up stories in his own head there, trying to get himself motivated for games.
That's for sure. That's what brings us on. What do you think of the documentary?
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. Nah,
I think we all have a Jordan. There's a Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Kerr, etc. in every GAA squad, I think, and we've probably been them at different stages ourselves. But
yeah, for sure.
One thing that struck me was
Kerr.
the amount of tweets and response about, say, Rodman in particular. You see a lot of lads commenting saying, "Oh, Rodman goes off to Vegas, or he goes off to the wrestling, and then he comes out and he plays game 4 in the playoffs, and then you say, oh, such a fella was out the night before or a week before a championship," or you see lots of comments like that. What's your take on it? Like, when the GAA comes back, are we going to have a lot of Rodmans?
Yeah, drinking a few pints and gets kicked off the panel there. Yeah, with the Gaelic. Yeah, it's funny because,
is it a comparison, do you think?
I don't think you can make a comparison with Dennis Rodman and any Gaelic footballer that I've ever come across there
for sure.
Before there. Dennis Rodman.
But what I mean is like.
Well, yeah, no, but even
that view, that promotion of that.
Oh, definitely. There's an obsession within Gaelic football that, lads going off and drinking a few pints. These big drink bans that Gaelic football managers and coaches obsess over, which is ridiculous. I mean, after playing any game, there are like 2 or 3 pints, and that whole social aspect of that there is far more beneficial, I think, to any player, rather than just saying, "Oh, no pints there tonight, call it off there, we're out next week, 7 days time." 2 or 3 pints isn't going to affect you playing the game the following week there. So, mentally, it's actually going to improve you, probably, if you ask me. So I don't really see the argument for these big drink bans and totally cutting everything off there. I think that had more of a negative effect on the player than that else.
I think it encourages bad habits kind of too, because if you're not used to going out and having your couple of pints after a game, and then you're going off it for a couple of months, and then you're going out and you're losing the run of yourself, like you're doing that over and over again.
Mm. Yeah, there's a massive culture sort of binge drinking amongst, I'd say, GAA players as well too. Like, exactly what you're saying there. Like, you're staying away, abstaining from drinking for weeks, and next thing it's all building up until that point there where you get knocked out of a championship or you win something, and then you just totally, go the opposite way then to another extreme where you're just totally over, indulging there, drinking way too much there, a few days of a session and stuff. So I suppose Rodman in a way was smart in his thinking there, the way he was getting all that anxiety out of the way there now, and he was in the middle of a finals there, heading off and partying there, and Carmen Electra on the side, and
I suppose that was his way of dealing with it. But I suppose, like, when you think about it, you can't compare sports. Like, he was coming on and he was protecting the paint. Like, you think of the area of a paint in the basketball court.
Yeah.
But you send him out onto a GAA pitch and he's running around after a lad who's everywhere and anywhere. Like,
I couldn't imagine.
No.
I couldn't imagine Rodman in any other position other than a Bomber Liston or a Kieran
Oh
Donnelly.
yeah, for sure,
Full
for
forward
sure.
there,
Yeah,
causing havoc there.
but it's like I just thought it was funny how lads kind of jumped on that. Like there's, I don't think it's as straightforward as saying, I
Oh
think
yeah.
when groups come back together, like you don't want a load of lads thinking, "Oh, here, look at Gaelic football is ridiculous." Like we can go out tonight.
I mean, it's not everybody, that could have as strong a mindset as Dennis Rodman to be fit to go off, party, come back, and then put in the performance that he needs to put in for his team. Like most lads wouldn't have the confidence there. They had play in their mind, they'd be coming back from something, and they'd be building up the pressure on themselves. Then get into the next game feeling like they'd have to perform. Like if they didn't perform, that they were the ones that were after letting them down. Like you'd have to stand out there in your next game.
Yeah.
Like Rodman was an athletic freak, but like he had a freak mindset as well too, that he was fit to do that.
I tell you what I loved about him was his role, how he accepted his role on that team and embraced it. Like it's kind of like the way Gaelic football has gone a bit now too. If we're comparing the two, like lads having a role on the squad. Like years ago, like nowadays you'd like to think if a fella's coming on for 15 minutes, he's in a mindset where, right, this is my 15 minutes, this is where I shine, I'm coming on to make an impact on my team. Whereas 10 years ago, if a fellow was asked to warm up with 15 minutes to go, he could be sulking and puffing and panting like, 15 minutes, or why wasn't I starting? This sort of that attitude. Whereas I thought that was like he knew, right, I don't have to shoot, I just have to completely focus on my defensive game.
100% agree with you. And as well, like if you look, even watching that documentary, and you think about any successful team there, like you've so many players there, so many teams there, when you think back to them when they're successful, you need so many players that are selfless in the fact that they literally know what they have to do for that team to be successful. They don't want any plaudits, they don't want anything else. They just know that they have a job to do. If they do that to 100%, the best of their ability, that's going to get the team across the line, the team's going to be successful for it. Like not everybody can get the ball and shoot like Michael Jordan. Not everybody's going to be. Michael Jordan's going to get past the ball 99% of the time there in a game-winning situation there. He's going to be the man you want on the ball, and he's going to be taking the headlines. Most of the boys that were playing that Chicago Bulls team, Jordan was getting the headlines. That was it. He was the successful. He was the main man. Yeah. So they were happy to fill in their roles, what they had to do on that team for that team to be successful, and that's the way it had to be.
Yeah.
Everybody had a specific role there, and they had to do that. Like Scottie Pippen was a number 2, and if Scottie Pippen, if he wanted to be the number 1 or whatever, that was going to totally compromise,
jeopardize
that
everything.
Success. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If he wasn't happy in doing that there, so they all complemented each other well.
But for sure, and then Jackson was such an amazing coach for his time too, wasn't he?
Phil Jackson. If I could,
his methods.
If I could have any coach there, if you could transfer any coach from any profession across to your sport and train under them for a year, like Phil Jackson, like you just absolutely love to have that man over you for a year.
He's like his methods from that late 80s, early 90s, like doing the likes of yoga with his squad, his mindfulness approach as well. He was so ahead of his time.
Big time. Big into the whole load of Native American routines as well too, wasn't he?
If you mentioned yoga in a GAA circle the last few years, you'd be laughed at.
Yeah, you probably still would be there.
You would, yeah.
Lads get hard there. They're giddy there whenever the yoga starts there, whatever the yoga teacher comes in. I've seen lads are trying to get lads to sit around doing mobility, and boys are barely fit to pull up the bloody quad to do a quad stretch around there. Like there's a heap of stiff lads around the place laughing and giggling. Like, what are you at there?
So true, yeah. I know, it was a great show. And we're nearly there. I have two on the spots for you before we wrap up. First one, what advice would you give a young Diarmuid Masterson breaking onto the county setup?
Breaking onto the county setup, yeah. Advice. I mean, the first advice I'd give them would be, don't come to Diarmuid Masterson for advice.
Brilliant. But that's that answered.
But the way when I was coming on to the county setup, and I mean, like, just obviously another cliche as well too. Like, just go out confident. There's no point in, like, if you're not confident, if you don't back yourself, then you're not gonna play to your true potential. You're not gonna show your best self there. So, I mean, as long as you're enjoying going out and being confident and enjoying your football and stuff like that, and just doing your thing there, like, to be fine. Anybody coming on there, and like I was saying earlier on, like, and even watching that documentary with Jordan there, I think it's a great thing to always find that motivating factor there every game that you're going into.
Yeah.
Just even if you have to make it up, even if you have to make up some story that some fella slighted you there and it didn't even happen there, like, just you always have to have that little bit of a chip on your shoulder or something there to just kind of to get the best out of yourself every day.
For sure, yeah. That's a great answer, and like you hit the nail on the head there. Enjoyment is key, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, definitely, yeah. I mean, if you're not enjoying it there, the time will go by so quick. Most of the boys, managers and selectors and everything you've had over the years, and they'd be telling you that there, and you wouldn't be listening to them the whole way through. You'd be playing into county, and they tell you like, this is going to go by so quick. And when you think back and you're looking back and you're saying, it goes by in the blink of an eye.
True. Right, you ready for number 2?
Go on ahead, Stan.
Puma King Paul Barden or Nike Tempo Paul Barden?
Oh, Jesus, Paul Barden. He didn't never had too much style there with the boots there, did he? Jesus, he was definitely fucking. He was what's the word I'm looking for? He was he committed to his boots there. He never really tried to find any
for sure, until his Joe Durkin sponsorship broke down.
The price of the boots, went up then later on the years there. It was still probably about €80 for a pair of boots then.
Well, you're picking your fancy team here, right? And you have a choice. You have your 2 cards in front of you. You have a Puma King Paul Barden, you have a Nike Tempo Paul Barden. Who are you putting in?
Oh, well, look, man, it's a Nike Tempo for me all day, because I'm a Nike man anyway, so I'm like Nike for any runners that I'm using there for the old 5Ks and 10Ks and everything there now. I think Nike.
He was a machine. Nike Tempo Paul Barden was a machine.
Yeah, I was never a Puma King man either myself there either. So
I tried them. The toe went in them, and that was it, right?
Some lads had great commitment levels to the Puma Kings, though. Once they loved the Puma King, that was it. Like, they were never venturing away from the Puma Kings. But
I remember one day I went into Joe Durkin's actually looked for a pair of boots, and they tried to sell them. They were saying, all Puma King is a serious, and like, you'd be well aware of all the boots. Sure, we were wearing Predators at this stage, and they were trying to sell the Puma King to me and telling me how great of a boot it is, and Paul Barden wears it, and I was
in Durkin's.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, no disrespect to Paul at all, like, but I don't like the Puma Kings, don't like the shape of them or anything, but there was probably only a few left on the shelf. They're trying to get rid of them,
They were ringing up Paul Barden. They were pretending to ring up Paul Barden. Yeah, we've got Sean McCormack here. He says he doesn't like Paul.
Well, he never mentioned the boot.
Yeah.
Jared, thanks so much.
Durkin's is a gas spot as well too there. I mean, you could go into Durkin's. They have all the boots out the back in the stores. Like, absolute gold mine for retro boots there.
Yeah.
You could come across any gem in there at all. They were just sitting back there, boots that were increasing in value over the years. And, the boys had them lying there for God knows how long. And then they'd bring out a pair of old Predators or something to you, and you'd be checking up online. They could be worth €300 or whatever they're worth, and the lads are coming out with the price tag on them, and 120 or 130 euros, whatever, and then you're bargaining it down and saying, actually, these boots are as old as the hills.
They're only worth 30 euros.
Not a few pound off the price there as well, too.
If that building's ever knocked down or reconstructed, I'll be hanging around that site for a while.
There'll be a heap of boys that are kind of walking suspiciously around the place there, and I just, what are you doing here?
Brilliant, man. Brilliant.
Next footballers.
Jeremy, thanks so much for the time, lad. That was great.
No, cheers, Dan.
Really appreciate it. Great chat, great insight, lad. And look, I wish you all the best. I don't know what story is with the GAA this year now, but I wish you all the best in the remainder of your club career. And
no, cheers, Dan. No, feelings mutual there, mate. So, look, it's it's enjoyable there talking about there and going back over before we had the conversation. I was thinking to myself there, look, I haven't got the best of memories. Was there? You'd be thinking to yourself there, will I be fit to remember half the stuff of dates and playing and everything like that? But it all kind of comes flooding back to you when you start.
It's all we have. It's all we have at the end of it all. You know, it's memories.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Nah, it's enjoyable there. It's funny how it builds up the emotion in you as well too, and you're thinking back to those times as well too. You can nearly put yourself back. You nearly start to feel the sort of same emotions that you felt at that time as well too.
Yeah, for sure, lad. For sure. Well, thanks so much, man. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
No, cheers. No, thanks yourself, Stan.
No problem.
Cheers, mate. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Mind yourself.